Being traumatized means continuing to organize your life as if the trauma were still going on, unchanged and immutable, as every new encounter or event is contaminated by the past. As a result, the felt sense in the body can feel threatened because the unchanged trauma still feels alive inside. So mindlessness might be the leading cause of your problems. Mindlessness of the connection between your body and mind, mindless of your felt sense. Without an open, flexible mind and a willingness to fully feel without defense, to let your emotions and sensations move through to completion, you'll stay stuck in an antagonistic relationship between your body and mind, a mindless servant to your tired loop of justifications and everyday reasons. Hi, I'm Todd Brozart, and I want to help you learn how to feel everything and nothing so you can heal trauma. So I've found that people who want to participate in the psychedelic somatic interactional psychotherapy modality, or PSIP, who are relatively new to somatic practices and feel confined by their mind, could really benefit by increasing their foundational understanding of what the felt sense is and why it's absolutely integral to doing this deeper trauma work. To set us up then, the felt sense serves as a gateway to deeper self-awareness. That's what we're going to be talking about today. And by tuning into it, you can more fully access emotions, memories, or insights that are stored in the body, but may not yet be conscious to the rational mind. So fostering a deeper understanding and practice of tuning into your felt sense is central to healing and change and just generally speaking being a more attuned and alive human being. So let me offer you a different, more holistic starting point if you're feeling lost and have been running from your mind and trying to resolve trauma. The first step in restoring your body-mind connection and becoming more fully yourself again isn't about focusing on who you are or what happened to you per se. Rather, it's about understanding what you are and what your body is capable of. You are a biological marvel, a phenomenon forged in nature, by nature, and through nature. Your body is so extraordinary that it not only senses the world around it, but also holds the capacity to know itself and heal itself. We often overlook the simple truth of our existence, that we are the culmination of billions of years of survival and evolution. Every ancestor, every single-celled organism, and every human who came before you adapted and endured. You are their legacy, equipped with a nervous system capable of sensing, responding, and thriving in your environment. So to truly understand yourself, you must first accept this fundamental truth. You are, above all, a biological being, a moving body with a brain, supported by a self-regulating nervous system designed to keep you alive and functioning. Dismissing the capabilities of your biology and biological needs is a massive blind spot and surely will make you unwell. So to offer an example, just think about your body, how it heals a broken bone. You don't have to will it to repair itself or think positive thoughts to get the healing process started. More or less, you rest, protect the injury with a cast, and your body's evolutionary brilliance starts to take over. Your biology knows exactly what to do without any conscious intervention on your part. So let me just pause for a second to say that in order to create this video and set up why the felt sense is important, I couldn't not acknowledge, there's multiple people that we could acknowledge here that are leading experts in somatic approaches, but the profound works of Peter Levine are pretty important, who is very well known for developing somatic practices to help people heal trauma, really more or less from within, bottom up per se. Notably, his modality somatic experiencing has been, for decades, leading the way. So somatic experiencing, or SE as it's often referred to, is a therapeutic modality and approach. It focuses on increasing awareness of physical sensations to help release stored tension to complete the body's natural fight, flight, or freeze responses. By orienting to and working gently with the nervous system, somatic experiencing facilitates the restoration of balance, resilience, and a general sense of safety in the body. So I'll be referencing quite a bit of Levine's work throughout this video, and a good place to start referencing his work is in the seminal book, Waking the Tiger, How to Heal Trauma. It's a must for anyone who's got even a modicum of a library. But if you're really wanting to understand more deeply about how to heal trauma, that book is about as good as a place to start. And so he writes, At the level of the basic biological organism, there isn't any thinking or conceptualizing. There's only instinctual response to whatever presents itself. In the human organism, some of these impulses are obscure. Others are all powerful and compelling. No matter how highly evolved humans become in terms of our abilities to reason, feel, plan, build, synthesize, analyze, experience, and create, there is no substitute for the subtle instinctual healing forces we share with our primitive past. So why do we doubt this same biological wisdom when it comes to repairing emotional and psychological wounds? And why do we try to overanalyze and outthink trauma instead of trusting the body's natural ability to heal itself? Can we blame it all on modern society? Is it because we've become more reliant on technology to inform our human experience? I think in some ways, the obvious answer is that who would want to feel overwhelmed or fear-provoking sensations and re-experience tragic memories? When something traumatic happens to us, it can create an underlying mistrust in our body, because that's where we felt things when the threat became too overwhelming or we didn't have a solution on board. Living in your head, constantly ruminating, might feel like self-preservation or being in a constant cycle of productivity, but it's more likely that you'll find yourself moving toward living inside of thinking errors and possibly a state of denial. So while you can reflect on and make sense of traumatic events, endlessly dissecting or avoiding them only keeps you at odds with how you truly feel inside. Trauma isn't just a problem to be solved with logic or reasoning. It's not just psychological, but physiological. It is felt in your body through and through, and no amount of mental maneuvering can bypass that reality. So when you try to escape trauma through your mind, I'm sure you've probably experienced this, you pay a steep price. Whether it's disconnection from being in your body, a loss of life's deeper pleasures, and possibly the suppression of your own natural ability to heal. So one of the greatest tensions we face in our day-to-day experience is the disconnect between the biographical you, the identity you've built, and the biological you, the instinctive animal part of you. And when you're exhausted and burned out by work, stressed by the next thing that needs to get done, and maybe you assess yourself as someone who doesn't have time or see the point in feeling and listening to your body, dismissive of your felt sense, what you're agreeing to in a way is to being cut off from much of your bodily intuition. Now, whether you realize it or not, you're feeling things all the time, and the mind can be ruthlessly avoidant of what the body is being forced to carry as the mind reasons and dismisses the feelings and emotions being experienced in the felt sense. That is an immense amount of suppression, something that you're carrying with you, and the aggregate of all of this to your overall lived experience is pretty profound when you start to add it up. It's not just one day, but those days add up into years, and those years add up into decades. Levine writes in Waking the Tiger, "Most of us don't think of or experience ourselves as animals. Yet, by not living through our instincts and natural reactions, we aren't fully human either. Existing in a limbo in which we're neither animal nor fully human can cause a number of problems, one of which is being susceptible to trauma." So through increased avoidance, the more susceptible we are to trauma and other complications like compromised immune systems. I like what Gabor Maté says in his book, The Myth of Normal. If you go through life being stressed while not knowing you're stressed, there's little you can do to protect yourself from the long-term physiological consequences. Again, pretty big blind spots around having a deeper awareness of the body and how it's trying to help us pay attention to what's undermining our health. And so Levine offers a great premise to what Maté is saying here, again from Waking the Tiger. The experience of the felt sense gives us a backdrop for reconnecting with the animal in ourselves. Knowing, feeling, and sensing focuses our attention where healing can begin. Nature has not forgotten us. We have forgotten it. A traumatized person's nervous system is not damaged. It is frozen in a kind of suspended animation. So why is the felt sense important? Well, the felt sense is your body's way of communicating what's happening beneath the surface, under your skin. It provides awareness of the sensations tied to your emotions and experiences, which are often linked to stress, trauma, or unresolved energies. So the felt sense is the experience of your body's internal sensations. It's the tightness in your chest, the weight on your shoulders, or the lightness you feel after resolving a difficult emotion. So think of the felt sense kind of like a compass. It guides you toward deeper inner truths, whether these truths are physical sensations to be experienced or emotions to be felt through. Each sensation, whether warmth or tension, constriction or stillness, signals where your attention is needed. By tuning into these signals and by allowing them to be present, you can navigate emotions, memories, and experiences in a way where we ultimately find clarity and engender healing. But when we make a habit out of putting this compass away or avoiding it altogether and just forcing our way through life, well, we kind of have an idea of where things go. So I think it's worth referencing Levine's work again from Waking the Tiger. And he says, when we're unable to flow through trauma and complete instinctive responses, these uncompleted actions often undermine our lives. Unresolved trauma can keep us excessively cautious and inhibited, or lead us around in ever-tightening circles of dangerous reenactment, victimization, and unwise exposure to danger. So think of how that might apply to you and your lived experience, even if it's subtle victimization or being in a situation that isn't exactly healthy for you. Levine goes on to say, until we understand that traumatic symptoms are physiological as well as psychological, we will be woefully inadequate in our attempts to heal them. The heart of the matter lies in being able to recognize that trauma represents animal instincts gone awry. When harnessed, these instincts can be used by the conscious mind to transform traumatic symptoms into a state of well-being. What an incredibly important point. Animal instincts gone awry. In the wild, animals don't develop PTSD. Did they experience stress, overwhelm, and traumatic experiences? You bet. And just like their nervous systems, just like our nervous systems, their nervous systems are biologically equipped to flush out the freeze or immobility responses that emerge in the face of stress, overwhelm, and especially after surviving a predator's attack. This natural reset keeps them alive and resilient, and without it, they'd likely become extinct or pass away pretty early. Humans, as we're learning about here, often interrupt these instinctual processes. Understandably, we don't want to feel things that remind us of our potential demise. And so our mind, more or less, tries to avert the re-experiencing of stress by doing things that are oftentimes stress-inducing. And so Levine writes, traumatized people have a deep distrust of the arousal cycle, usually for good reason. This is because to a trauma victim, arousal has become coupled with the overwhelming experience of being immobilized by fear. Because of this fear, the traumatized person will prevent or avoid completion of the arousal cycle and remain stuck in a cycle of fear. The key for trauma victims is becoming acquainted with a simple natural law. What goes up must come down. When we can trust the arousal cycle and are able to flow with it, the healing of trauma will begin. Know that arousal leads to feeling frozen or immobile. And when we feel stressed and aroused, we're likely to also feel overwhelmed, immobilized, and helpless, and possibly even ashamed. Healing trauma starts with focusing on small, manageable sensations. For example, a pixel in your larger emotional picture. So imagine your mind and body as a mosaic, where each sensation you experience is akin to a single tile that makes up the larger mosaic. Some of the tiles that have experienced increased stress and trauma may lose their luster after time. So the full mosaic is recognizable, but not entirely colorful. The full image might feel overwhelming to the mind, especially when tied to trauma. But by focusing on one small part through your felt sense, whether it's a flutter in your stomach or warmth in your hands, and allowing it to cycle through, this work becomes far more approachable and thorough. And Levine says this much. He says, the felt sense unifies a great deal of scattered data and gives it meaning. For example, when we see a beautiful image on television, what we're seeing is a vast array of digitized dots called pixels. If we were to focus on the individual elements or pixels, we would see dots and not the beautiful image. Likewise, in hearing your favorite musical score, you don't focus on the individual notes, but rather on the total aural experience. Your experience is much greater than the sum of the individual notes. So the felt sense has this ability to integrate your entire experience. Consider it almost like a magnet that attracts your experience into a unified whole. At least that's what it would attempt to do if we allowed it to. So just consider that the felt sense, it knows how to pull details that are hidden in dissociation into a more present and workable state. And so by allowing the felt sense to integrate your experience, it'll work towards a state of calm, even if this takes time, or we doubt that will even happen. So by allowing our experience between mind and body to integrate, many of our long-held stories become less convincing and less debilitating. So practice tuning into your felt sense just moments at a time. There's no rush to this. There's no trying to be perfect at this. Get a sense for what sensations manifest in your body, where in your body, and how they evolve in your body, because these feelings are never static. Learn to feel your bodily experience more fully, more fully, more fully. Be more patient with this process than you even think you can do. So the larger inquiry here is not whether your body can heal, but whether you're willing to pause, pay attention, and let it do what it was designed to do. The challenge you'll repeatedly face is bridging the gap between what the mind says, how it wants to be in control, and what your body knows how to do. Again, that's going to happen repeatedly. So remember that your body, your mind, your spirit are always interconnected, bound by a profound capacity for renewal. This isn't just a biological reality. It's your legacy. It's a legacy, a gift from the countless lives that came before you. Your work here is to honor that, to embrace it, and learn to live in alignment with the profound intelligence that flows through your body. Healing isn't about pushing through or avoiding discomfort. It's about being in attunement with what you feel and allowing your body to guide you. The question is, are you ready to start listening?